In the mythological age of heroes, the land of Athens was ruled by King Aegeus, a wise yet anxious ruler who faced a dilemma that weighed heavily upon his heart. Aegeus longed for an heir to continue his lineage, but despite many years of hope, he remained childless. His longing left the future of Athens uncertain and troubled his soul. In his desperation for guidance, King Aegeus traveled to the ancient sanctuary of Delphi, where the revered oracle was known to offer cryptic wisdom. The air was thick with anticipation as Aegeus approached the sacred temple, his heart yearning for answers. The oracle, veiled in mystery, delivered a message that spoke of a future filled with promise and trials. Aegeus listened intently as her words painted a vision of a great hero, born to embody courage and justice, destined to unite the people. With the oracle's prophecy lingering in his mind, Aegeus embarked upon a journey to the city of Troezen. It was here, during the promising season of spring, when the world was ripe with new beginnings, that he met Aethra, a woman of remarkable grace and strength. Their union was blessed by the gods, and it was not long before Aethra became the mother of Theseus, the child foretold by the oracle. Before leaving Troezen, Aegeus confided in Aethra the details of the prophecy. He devised a plan for the boy's future, intending that only when Theseus was strong and wise enough to move a large stone would he reveal his true heritage. Beneath this hefty rock, Aegeus placed two items of great significance: his own sandals and sword. These were not mere objects. They symbolized a legacy and a promise of the destiny that awaited his son. The scene at Troezen unfolded under an overcast sky, with the twilight casting deep blue and silver hues over the landscape. Aegeus, with a heart full of hope and anticipation, hid the sandals and sword beneath the large rock, trusting in the strength and courage of his future heir. The ocean stretched endlessly in the background, a symbol of the journeys yet to come. Aegeus returned to Athens with a renewed sense of hope, though he remained silent about his heir. A gentle wind whispered through the land, signaling the beginning of a new chapter, one that promised adventure and the fulfillment of destiny. Theseus, though too young to understand his place in the tapestry of fate, would one day rise to meet the challenges set forth in the oracle's words. As evening descended upon Troezen and the quiet embraced the world, one could almost feel the anticipation of the days to come, a time when Theseus would uncover his heritage, seize the sandals and sword, and embrace the path prepared for him since his birth. The prophecy assured that Theseus would grow to become a beacon of heroism, one who would navigate the labyrinth of trials with the golden thread of courage and justice. Thus, the stage was set for Theseus's journey, one punctuated by challenges and brave feats that would eventually lead him to the heart of Athens, the bustling city that awaited his guidance and strength. Though now only a child, Theseus's destiny was woven with the promise of ancient heroes. With Aegis's parting, Troezen returned to its serene existence, a lull before the unfolding of great adventures. The sword and sandals lay hidden, awaiting the embrace of their rightful keeper. The pervasive quiet suggested the calm before a long and eventful journey. As the chapter gently closes, we find ourselves at the crossroads of anticipation, ready to step into a world where courage is tested and a hero's legacy is born. Prepare for these events that shape the promise of great adventures. In the calm confines of Troezen, a town cradled by gentle hills and bordered by the eternal sea's embrace, lived a spirited young boy named Theseus. Unbeknownst to him, the gentle murmur of the waves carried whispers of a destiny far greater than he could fathom. Raised solely by his mother, Aethra, Theseus spent his formative years wandering the verdant landscapes, his eyes often drawn to the distant horizon, instinctively yearning for the adventure that awaited beyond his familiar world. Theseus, though still young, displayed a precocious sense of justice and valor. Known among his peers for his fairness in disputes and bravery in play, He often led their childhood games with the same spirit that would, unknown to him, define his future exploits. These youthful moments, imbued with laughter and camaraderie, wove the first threads of a hero's character. As Theseus approached the cusp of manhood, a restive energy stirred within him, urging him towards an unknown future. The dawn of that particular spring morning broke gently, the mist-laden air imbued with the hues of light blue and silver, marking the moment when fate would unveil its hidden testament. Drawn by an inexplicable calling, he approached the great stone his mother had subtly directed him to as a child. With determination fueled by an inner call he couldn't yet describe, Theseus set his hands firmly on the rock's rough surface. Pressing down with his strength, a strength beyond that of ordinary men, he lifted it aside, revealing the gleaming sword and the pair of sandals hidden beneath. In that instant, Theseus sensed a profound shift in his life, though the full weight of its meaning yet eluded him. His mother, Aethra, joined him then, her presence calm yet heavy with untold stories and promises of what was to come. She spoke softly, weaving the tale of his noble heritage into the air between them. With each word, she revealed their shared past, how King Aegeus of Athens, longing for an heir, had entrusted the future to this boy, now standing on the threshold of greatness. These treasures, the sword and sandals, were alight with the promise of his birthright, and foretold the journey he must now undertake. Understanding the significance of what lay before him, Theseus felt the stirrings of a hero's spirit within his heart. The sword, no longer merely a weapon, symbolized the courage and justice he was destined to wield. The sandals, filled with the promise of flight, signified the journey ahead, a path leading him away from the familiar pastures of Trojan and towards the waiting city of Athens, where his father, unaware, sought a son. The revelation evoked a tumult of emotions within Theseus. Awe at the legacy he was heir to, a nascent sense of responsibility, and a keen resolve to step into the role he was born to fulfill. It was a time of introspection, as he pondered the many stories whispered throughout his childhood about great heroes and ancient lineages. Now, he too was a part of those tales, destined to step onto the stage where myth and reality intertwine. With a heart buoyed by his mother's unwavering faith and wisdom, Theseus made preparations to leave. Bidding farewell to Aethra was a moment laced with both sadness and hopeful anticipation. Her eyes, filled with maternal pride and veiled concern, invoked a silent promise between them that he would uphold the honor of his lineage and return the son she cherished. The first light of dawn unfurled over the horizon, casting a gentle glow across the path Theseus would tread. With the sword secured by his side and the sandals guiding each step, he set forth. Behind him, the landscapes of Trojan blurred into memory, replaced by the vast potential of the unknown. As he traveled, the road beneath Theseus's feet became a conduit between past and future, each step affirming his resolve to prove himself worthy of the hero's legacy. The adventures awaiting in Athens were unwritten, but the fire of youth, coupled with the wisdom imparted by his origins, fueled his determination to overcome whatever trials lay ahead. In the quiet of the journey, where only the sea's rhythmic melody accompanied his thoughts, Theseus began to see his place in the stories that marked the annals of history. He was no longer merely a boy of Trojan, he was a hero in ascension, ready to etch his own tale among those of the gods and legends. As the road unfolded before him, Theseus walked with the fortitude of a king, steadfastly carrying the weight of his heritage, undaunted by the challenges en route to Athens. The dawn of his adventure mirrored the fresh beginnings within his heart, swathed in the wisdom of the past and the courage innate to his being. With each rising sun, Theseus grew ever closer to Athens, eager to embrace the destiny heralded by those treasured symbols, the sword as his guide and the sandals as his wings. The path was long, Yet with courage renewed by the promise of his bloodline, he was ready to rise to the occasion, to fulfill the prophecy inscribed by fate's enduring hand. And thus, the young hero's saga began, a journey not only to Athens but to himself, as Theseus prepared to step fully into the realm of legends, leaving behind the shores of childhood for a world riches, with challenges and honor yet to seize. As Theseus left the familiar shores of Trozen, he embarked on a crucial journey fraught with challenges that would test both his courage and his burgeoning sense of purpose. The road to Athens lay stretched before him, a long and hazardous path weaving through serene landscapes shadowed by danger. This was a journey on which Theseus would build not just his own identity, but the legend of a hero destined for great deeds. The first formidable challenge on his path was Periphetes, a bandit feared as the club-bearer, who roamed the roads wielding a heavy bronze club with menacing authority. Confronted by this imposing figure, Theseus remained calm, a steady gaze fixed on the club poised to strike. As the club swung with force, Theseus demonstrated unparalleled agility and strength, deftly dodging the blow before turning Periphetes' own weapon against him. Defeating the club-bearer, Theseus claimed the club as a symbol of his victory, a fitting token for a hero in the making. As he continued his journey, Theseus soon encountered Sinis, the pine bender, notorious for his gruesome dispatch of travelers by bending pine trees and using them to hurl or tear victims apart. It was with both courage and cunning that Theseus engaged Sinis, recognizing an opportunity as the bandit executed his cruel technique. Observing each move, Theseus outwitted Sinis by reversing the trap, sending him to meet his fate by the very trees he manipulated, a triumph of intellect over brute force. The path meandered through woodlands and hills, welcoming Theseus to yet another trial, the monstrous sow of Cromion, a beast ravaging the land under the unseen command of an old crone named Fate. With unwavering resolve and strength, Theseus engaged the beast in a life-or-death struggle, maneuvering with skill and defeating the creature. This victory added another chapter to his legendary exploits, marking his continuing journey toward heroism. At the foreboding cliffs near Sciron, another test of character awaited. Sciron was a bandit infamous for compelling travelers to wash his feet before casting them off the cliffs to a monstrous turtle below. Recognizing the terror Sciron instilled, Theseus confronted him without hesitation. Steadfast and perceptive, he turned Sciron's own tactic against him, hurling the villain over the same cliffs, restoring peace to weary travelers. With each challenge, the narrative of Theseus's burgeoning heroism unfolded further, yet cunning adversaries lingered on his path. As Theseus pressed on, Circean awaited, another brute championing himself through wrestling matches, overpowering those who dared face him. Instead of relying solely on might, Theseus employed wit and agility, strategically outmaneuvering Circean to emerge victorious, solidifying his growing reputation as a hero of extraordinary strength and intelligence. The final encounter along this perilous route brought Theseus to Procrustes, a notorious bandit with a cruel sense of hospitality, insisting that his iron bed fit every traveler, stretching oaries, shortening them as necessary. Theseus, alert and mindful of this sinister ploy, swiftly turned Procrustes' cruelty upon himself, ensuring the punishment matched the crime. Another triumph of justice. Having conquered each trial, Theseus emerged not just as a man but as the legendary hero he was destined to become. His deeds extended beyond the mere physical journey to Athens, echoing in tales that spread through Greece, shared by travelers and song spinners alike. Theseus's journey was more than a succession of victories. It was a saga of self-discovery, of courage and justice that resonated deeply within those who heard his story. As Theseus approached the city of Athens, he carried with him not just the stories of his triumphs, but a clear sense of purpose and the weight of destiny. Each victory had marked another step forward in fulfilling his life's mission. Though unaware of the specific challenges that awaited him, Theseus was prepared by the trials he had faced. Calm and resolute, Theseus now neared the verge of Athens, the cradle of legends and the heart of an enlightened realm. The city sat gleaming, like a precious gem in the summer sun, promising new trials and triumphs in equal measure. With anticipation and composure, Theseus stood ready to embrace both the responsibilities and the adventures that awaited him in this storied city. After a journey teeming with trials and triumphs, Theseus finally arrived in Athens. The city's grandeur rose before him, with its ancient architecture standing as a testament to its history. Walking through its bustling streets, Theseus observed the blend of ordinary life and underlying tension. People whispered stories of strange plots and intrigues swirling around the royal palace, for Aegeus, the king of Athens, was known for a court filled with complexity and uncertainty. On reaching the palace, Theseus found himself amid the buzz of royal life, filled with diplomats, attendants, and courtiers, each playing their part in the tapestry of the king's realm. Theseus's arrival, though unheralded, sparked curiosity. Rumors of a hero from distant lands had reached many ears, but few could place the young man quietly entering their midst. King Aegeus was a figure both revered and concerned, his sage eyes reflecting the weight of governance. Unknown to him, the stranger approaching was his son, bound by fate and lineage. Theseus carried with him the sword and sandals given to him by his mother, Aethra. These were not mere items, they were keys to a destiny intertwined with the city itself. However, before any heartwarming reunion could unfold, the shadows of envy and scheming loomed ominously. Medea, a sorceress with a keen mind and keenest of senses, had taken residence within Aegeus's court. Perceptive and wary, she recognized the threat Theseus posed to her influence. Her eyes narrowed with resolve to maintain her standing as she plotted in the shadows. An opportunity soon arose for confrontation amidst celebration. The palace, with its grand banquet hall adorned with candlelight hues of gold and silver, became the stage. A feast was prepared, a convergence of politics, pleasure, and perhaps peril. As the evening unfolded into flickering candlelit splendor, Theseus attended, dressed humbly yet bearing the unmistakable air of heroism. He kept his composure, albeit aware of Medea's gaze following him with suspicion. It was during the crescendo of the banquet, when words were overshadowed by shared gestures and laughter, that the decisive moment arrived. In this solemn yet vibrant space, Theseus stepped forward. He pulled from his side the sword, ancient and glinting with authority. Its appearance seized the air, a symbol unfurled. Silence descended as King Aegeus's eyes fell upon the sword, a relic of his past and harbinger of his familial future. In that heartbeat of recognition, the world around them stilled. Aegeus's heart, once laced with years of burden and longing, swelled with certainty and pride. With calm assurance, he embraced Theseus, acknowledging the return of his son and the embodiment of a vision once prophesied. The connection of father and son, longed for and destined, was finally realized. The hall, which moments before had been a theater of skepticism and suspicion, now brimmed with the warmth of revelation and family. Aegeus declared Theseus his heir, and the atmosphere shifted from trepidation to approval, the court embracing the legitimacy and hope that Theseus' presence promised. Yet, beneath this burgeoning optimism lay the persistent undercurrent of caution. For with newfound status came the intricacies of power, and not all plots would cease with this familial unity. Medea, discreetly withdrawing, plotted anew as conceding was not in her nature. The evening waned into night, and the city buzzed with the news of the hero's recognition. Theseus, now firmly recognized as prince and heir, understood that his journey was far from over. While suspense had abated in some respects, Aegeus whispered wisdom of further tribulations ahead, trials that would test the mettle of both ruler and warrior as one. Theseus remained, vigilantly standing in the intersection of destiny and action, the corridors of power now as formidable as the paths he had traversed to reach them. His heart, adorned with both hope and resolve, beat the rhythm of Athens' awaited future. As moonlight cast gentle shadows over the city of Athens, Theseus found peace in the completion of one chapter of his journey. Yet he stood ready for the challenges that lay beyond the horizon, poised to meet whatever destiny demanded with courage and justice. Athens, once filled with the sounds of celebration after Theseus's recognition as King Aegeus' son, now found itself in uneasy silence. The contentment was disrupted by the arrival of a herald from Crete, delivering a decree that sent ripples of anxiety throughout the city. In the heart of the marketplace, the people gathered, their expressions shifting from curiosity to sorrow, as the herald announced King Minos's demand for tribute. This tribute, a grim echo of past feuds, required 7 young men and 7 young women from Athens as offerings to the monstrous Minotaur, a creature of half-man, half-beast, living within the twisting labyrinth on Crete. The shadows of dread hung heavily over Athens, the weight of tragic history pressing upon them once more. The Minotaur's tale was well known, a consequence of divine displeasure and mortal folly, crafted by the skilled hands of Daedalus. As the story unfolded, the Athenians' hearts were burdened with the same old despair. Standing quietly among the gathering, Theseus was absorbed by these tales of calamity and sacrifice. Though newly recognized as the prince, the pull of his duty weighed heavily upon him, a blend of desire to protect his people and prove his worth. With the resolve growing within him, Theseus rose to speak before the assembly gathered in the palace. His bearing was one of calm yet profound determination. "My father," he began, addressing King Aegeus, "I volunteer for the tribute. I will face the Minotaur. I pledge to return with the triumph of Athens in my sails." A breath held across the room, reflecting both surprise and hope at Theseus' declaration. His father, King Aegeus, looked into Theseus's eyes and saw the courage reflecting back. This conviction, the very heart of his noble lineage, convinced Aegeus to consent reluctantly to his son's request. However, he sought assurance of Theseus's safe return, extracting a promise solemnly given. "Promise me you will return with the white sails raised, a sign of your victory and survival," Aegeus implored, his words both a plea and a command, seasoned with the love and fear of a father. Theseus, with a heartfelt nod, embraced this promise, solidifying the pact between son and king. As the shades of dusk fell over Athens, Theseus prepared for his voyage, the sails set against the darkening sky. The horizon beckoned him, not as an enemy but as a test, the beginning of a quest towards a legacy forged in the trials of the Labyrinth. The air around him, thick with anticipation, and the quiet sadness of potential parting, marked the onset of his journey. Aegeus stood upon the shore, pride filling his chest as he watched his son embark, while a whisper of anxiety lingered, casting shadows in the gathering twilight. Yet, he clung to the promise, one of white sails and safe return. For the people of Athens, Theseus was more than just a volunteer. He was a beacon of hope, his courage lining the path of their collective destiny. The ship sailed into the night, carrying Theseus toward Crete, through waters dark and deep, under skies draped in autumn's quiet gloom. The voyage was not just a journey across the sea, but also the passage of a soul towards its proving ground, driven by the steadfast determination of a hero destined to face the labyrinth. In the quiet moments of the sail, Theseus reflected on his past deeds, drawing strength from the memories of challenges overcome. Each victory etched into his being was proof of his readiness for what lay ahead, a testament to the promise he carried upon the winds. Thus the tribute set sail, and with it, the legend of Theseus began to take shape across the sea's vastness. The promise of these ventures sparked the hopes of Athens, carrying with it the dreams of a city under darkened skies. An unfurling tale awaited on Crete's distant shores, where fate would meet him, guided by threads of valor and destiny itself. With steadfast resolution, Theseus accepted the weight of his journey, embracing the stakes of his quest. As the waters parted before him, the journey commenced, a reminder that myths were born of heroism, intertwined with the loom of destiny. By dawn, the ship would approach new horizons, setting the scene for legends untold, carried forth under the vigilant gaze of the gods and of men who believed in the power of a single promise. The voyage to Crete weighed heavily upon the souls of those aboard. The Athenian youths silently resigned to their grim purpose as offerings to a powerful king. Among them stood Theseus, his mind alive with thoughts unspoken, reflecting solemnly on the journey undertaken. The sea lay behind, and before them, Crete's rocky shores rose as they neared their fate. Disembarking at the foot of the imposing palace of Knossos, Theseus found himself under the scrutinizing eye of King Minos. The king, formidable in posture and presence, regarded the young Athenians with a gaze that bespoke his unyielding authority. He spoke with the resonance of a ruler whose will was law, extolling Crete's supremacy, yet Theseus remained unflinching, his spirit imbued with a defiance rooted deep within his mission. As the group stood under Cretan skies, shadowed by relentless fortification of tradition and power, Ariadne, the daughter of Minos, observed. Her heart reached beyond the confines of her royal life, sensing a profound destiny in Theseus, one that mirrored the intricate dance of courage and fate. Her resolve took form as empathy did, and she chose to act upon the whispers of her heart. With stealth and resolve, Ariadne approached Theseus, bearing a golden thread, an insight from the labyrinthine corridors of hope and despair. This thread, she murmured in his ear, her voice low yet purposeful, is your guide through the shadowed paths. Secure its end at the entrance, and let it be your salvation when the darkness seeks to claim you. In her words, Theseus found a glimmer of hope, a reflection of shared resolve and unspoken allegiance. He accepted it with a nod of understanding, recognizing the risk she undertook for his sake. Night settled gently over the palace, the world tinged with the silver hues of a half-seen moon. Standing before the labyrinth's entrance, Theseus felt the weight of stories past press upon him, tales of heroism, fierce creatures, and the eternal contest between light and shadow. He was not entering merely to battle a beast, but to face the manifold trials of myth and self-discovery. The labyrinth welcomed him with a stoic silence, its stone walls a testament to trials endured and secrets kept. Every step within it was a passage not just through space, but through the resolve that bound Theseus to his destiny. As he advanced, the golden thread served him not only as a guide, but as a symbol of the connection forged between him and Ariadne. It was proof of human kindness amidst the bleak choreography of fate. The labyrinth's pathways twisted in unpredictable patterns, challenging Theseus to maintain his course. His thoughts drew upon previous challenges overcome, instances that sculpted his character, a hero born of both triumph and trial. He recalled the hand of fate guiding him to this very moment, where the realms of reality and legend wove together into the tapestry of his destiny. In deepening passages where silence enveloped him, the significance of his mission crystallized. Theseus felt the Minotaur's presence, a formidable echo of brutality and chaos personified. It was the embodiment of a world where order was imposed through strength and fear. Yet, the hero knew that the path to conquering this beast lay not just in physical confrontation, but in the understanding of self and the wielding of courage. The call to justice resounded within Theseus, akin to the ancient echoes that reverberated through the labyrinth's halls. He met these with unwavering resolve, for the heart of the labyrinth was more than mere architecture. It was a challenge of existence itself. Theseus realized with each deliberate step that the path through the shadows was crafted not of stone, but of choices. Every twist and turn mirrored the intricacies of life, choices that led him closer to the creature within and the clarity beyond of a fight. As the center of the labyrinth drew near, the air grew thick with the anticipation of the clash to come, a moment tempered by timeless tales of adventure that had prepared Theseus for this encounter. He bore with him not just a sword of steel, but the fortitude of heroism and the integrity born of the struggle for light within. In this quiet pause between breaths, on the verge of confrontation, Theseus understood the strength that lay in the union of justice and valor, the backbone of a legacy yet to be fulfilled. The golden thread continued to light his way, symbolic of both his path to power and the humanity that connected him to others. Ariadne's gift reminded him that even in darkness, there was light to be found in trust and alliance. With the heart of the labyrinth before him, the mythic echoes were louder than ever. They sang of darkness conquered and destinies met. As he poised himself, knowing that every beat of his heart was in rhythm with fate, Theseus stepped forward once more. Confidence and calm filled him, a quiet declaration that the journey through the shadow was one that could lead back to the dawn. Bearing the weight of history and myth upon his shoulders, Theseus moved ahead, guided by the thread of destiny twined in gold, a promise of return, a beacon through the labyrinth's shadow-filled field. The labyrinth stretched out like a living enigma, its stone corridors twisting and weaving in a complex pattern, veiled in shadow and silence. Theseus, guided by Ariadne's golden thread, moved with a deliberate calmness, threading through the dark passages. Each step was a testament to the careful planning he embraced, each turn a choice he made with the singular vision of overcoming the Minotaur. The atmosphere was fraught with anticipation as he traversed deeper into the labyrinth. The subtly illuminating thread offered a sense of direction amid chaotic uncertainty, glistening under the faint traces of light that seeped through unseen openings. A quiet yet powerful reassurance lingered in the air, reminding Theseus of the importance of every deliberate footfall. His heart, though steady, pounded with the weight of destiny, echoing the purpose that drove him forward. Crucially, Theseus remained acutely aware of the labyrinth's deafening silence, periodically punctuated by the foreboding growl of the monstrous Minotaur. These sounds, disembodied and ethereal, seemed to ripple through the very stones surrounding him, heralding the impending confrontation. It was a grim symphony, each growl a reminder of the savage adversary he was destined to face. Steeling himself, Theseus let the waves of courage roll through him, providing strength and resolve. This journey through the heart of darkness was not merely a physical trek, but a mental crucible where Theseus confronted his own fears and doubts. Picturing the lair of the Minotaur, he recounted the bravery of heroes past, weaving these tales into the fortitude he required. The winding corridors tested not only his navigation skills, but his mettle and wit, attributes honed through his myriad past encounters with robbers and villains who had long plagued the roads to Athens. Reaching the core of the labyrinth, Theseus found his breath caught in his throat as the chamber before him materialized, a place where shadow reigned and sinister echoes amplified the monster's ominous presence. The Minotaur's growls grew nearer, louder, harmonizing with the primal, rhythmic beat of stone against stone. The beast's sudden emergence was a sight of raw ferocity, a monstrous form with the hulking body of a man and the glaring head of a bull, eyes glistening with the rage of its primal instincts. It advanced with a thunderous bellow, a sound that reverberated even through the solid stone, sending a strain of tension thrumming through the air. The ensuing battle unfolded in a blur of motion and instinct, Theseus wielding his sword with both precision and speed. In the dimness of the chamber, he danced a precarious waltz with the beast, countering each of the Minotaur's powerful charges with deft sidesteps and timely strikes. The labyrinth itself seemed to amplify the struggle, walls resounding with the clash of strength and strategy. Theseus' tactical prowess shone as he matched the Minotaur's unbridled ferocity with calculated maneuvers. Ever vigilant, he circled, searching for a weakness to exploit. The beast's aggression was relentless, yet Theseus' determination refused to waver, unwavering as the heroism etched in his soul. His grip tightened on his sword, each swing imbued with the courage of his convictions, a testament to his resilient spirit. The skirmish felt timeless, an engagement held in the delicate balance between life and myth. Theseus' intellect served him well as he anticipated the Minotaur's movements, meeting its strength with strategic dexterity. At last, with the clarity born of experience and purpose, he sidestepped another fierce charge and struck with conviction. The blade finding its mark, the Minotaur's roar filled the cavernous space, a final echo marking the end of one chapter of darkness. With the battle concluded, a sense of profound calm permeated the air, the once tense atmosphere now dissipating into tranquility. Theseus paused, allowing himself a moment to absorb the weight of his heroism. The golden thread, having fulfilled its purpose, lay stretched and gleaming, a symbol of his path back to light and freedom. Resolutely, he retraced his steps, the journey back one of reflection and clarity. Each corridor he passed through unfurled like an erstwhile mystery now resolved, his heart lighter with the knowledge of victory. Emerging from the labyrinth, Theseus was a vision of newfound hope, greeted by the faint glow of the night sky. Ariadne awaited him with watchful eyes, brimming with relief and a burgeoning sense of possibility. Her expression spoke volumes of shared triumph, her earlier gift of the golden thread validated by the sight of Theseus, alive and unscathed. Their gaze met in quiet understanding, a promise of alliance and the bonds yet to be forged. Though the path ahead remained uncertain, the first light of dawn seemed to whisper the promise of new beginnings. Together, Theseus and Ariadne prepared to push forward into this fresh dawn, bound by the shared tapestry of courage and destiny. As the shadows of the labyrinth finally receded, the horizon before them glimmered with the anticipated brightness of future adventures. With the labyrinth now behind him, a new chapter of Theseus' journey lay waiting beyond the horizon, one paved with courage, hope, and the promise of a united tomorrow. As dawn began to break over Crete, Theseus, having emerged victorious from the labyrinth, was filled with a sense of fulfillment and newfound determination. By his side stood Ariadne, whose unwavering support and resourcefulness had been instrumental in his triumph. Together with the Athenian youths he had saved from the Minotaur's clutches, they moved with silent urgency toward the shore. The sea lay before them, serene yet promising the tumult of their journey to freedom. Theseus, resolute and courageous, led them with a quiet confidence that inspired those around him. His mind, though, was often drawn to Ariadne, who had chosen to forsake her home and father's kingdom to accompany him into an uncertain future. As they embarked upon their ship, a gentle breeze stirred the sails, urging them toward destiny's unpredictable path. Ariadne's heart was filled with hope and a longing for liberation as she gazed back upon her homeland one last time. The horizon stretched before them, a blank page on which new beginnings would be written. Their voyage was marked by calm and reflection, the rhythmic cadence of the waves a soothing balm to the tension that had gripped them so tightly in the labyrinth. The crew shared quiet conversations, solace found in shared stories of bravery and camaraderie. Ariadne and Theseus often found themselves in each other's company, speaking little but understanding much in the quiet moments they shared. Their course brought them to the Isle of Naxos, a place shrouded in mystery and myth. Choosing to rest briefly, they disembarked, finding comfort on the island's tranquil beaches. It was here amidst the soft sand and whispering trees that the thread of destiny began to unravel in unexpected ways. Theseus, pulled by obligations towards his homeland and his promise to his father, silently wrestled with what lay ahead. He recognized the gravity of returning to Athens, where his father and duties as a prince awaited. The weight of leadership loomed large, yet so did the promise of uniting a divided people under a banner of peace and justice. As the hours passed on Naxos, a profound and bittersweet realization dawned upon Ariadne. The journey they had started together would diverge, not in anger or abandonment, but in acceptance of life's intricate and oftentimes painful designs. Theseus and Ariadne shared a quiet farewell, a moment charged with unspoken emotions, a blend of gratitude, sorrow, and mutual respect. With the mist lifting from the shore, Theseus guided his men back to the waiting ship. As they set sail, the gentle waves seemed to carry whispered farewells to Ariadne, who stood upon the shore, her figure resolute against the backdrop of a golden dawn. She watched as the sails unfurled, painting a picture of hope upon the horizon. Theseus' journey beckoned forward by the winds of fate. Amidst the vast expanse of the Aegean, the ship coursed onward, carrying Theseus and his companions back to Athens. The sea was both a pathway to home and a symbol of the vast and untold adventures yet to come. The past days had left indelible marks on each of their souls, marks of courage, sacrifice, and the immutable ties of what they had overcome together. Theseus, standing at the helm, felt the full weight of his responsibilities settle upon him once more. Purpose ripened beneath the tutelage of past trials, and he embraced the wisdom woven into his journey. Despite the physical distance widening between him and Ariadne, her voice, her counsel, remained a guiding echo within his heart. As the outline of Athens approached, silhouetted against the sky's warm glow, Theseus pondered upon the legacy he hoped to forge, a legacy of unity and justice. The mistakes and triumphs of their voyage reminded him of the labyrinth's intricate corridors, each twist and turn necessary in the greater tapestry of life. Tales of his heroism would reach the shores of Athens before he did. Yet Theseus knew that each step he would take upon reaching the city's gates carried promises made and promises to be kept. Ariadne's absence was a quiet, intermittent shadow, a reminder of paths crossed and choices made. Though destiny had led them onto separate roads, Theseus carried forward with a sense of hope and renewal. His thoughts stretched beyond the immediate horizon, picturing a future where courage could forestall fear and justice could prevail over chaos. Thus, as the ship of Theseus cut through the calming waters toward Athens, the seeds of reflective serenity took root. The journey home was not just a physical passage, but a testament to the enduring nature of heroism and the constant shaping of what it means to lead with both strength and compassion. The sea, vast and mysterious, stretched endlessly as Theseus and his companions neared the shores of Athens. Having left the Isle of Naxos behind, where Theseus had parted ways with Ariadne, the journey home felt both triumphant and tinged with an unspoken melancholy. Theseus stood at the helm, his mind a tapestry of victory over the Minotaur, interwoven with thoughts of what lay ahead in Athens. Yet, caught in the tranquil embrace of the gentle waves, a more ominous oversight lingered on the horizon. The air was calm, the vessel rocking gently with the motion of the sea. Theseus, lost in introspection, found himself contemplating the many threads of fate that had woven his life into a heroic saga. His thoughts meandered to those he journeyed with, each sailor a silent testament to the survival of the Athenian youths. Yet, absent from this moment of peace was the promise he had made to his father, King Aegeus, the simple action of raising the white sails, a signal that proclaimed success and survival. In the cool, shadowy dusk on the Athenian cliffs, King Aegeus stood gazing out over the endless expanse of water. His heart was heavy with anticipation and hope mixed with foreboding. Days and nights had passed since the departure of Theseus and the youths, each bringing both dread and the silent prayer for a white-sailed ship to signal a safe return. Legend whispered through the rustling trees and echoed in the whispers of the sea breezes about the Labyrinth and the dark terror of the Minotaur. Aegeus's gaze was cast earnestly towards the horizon, with a heart both nurturing and anxious for the return of his son. As the ship propelled itself closer, the sails came into view from the high vantage that Aegeus had never left. The colors, pulling shadows under the gray canopy of the autumn sky, were not those of white, but black. The truth struck Aegeus with a force like the very waves battering against the cliffside. Theseus is lost. In that suspended moment, neither wind nor sky seemed to breathe. Aegeus, overwhelmed by a crushing wave of grief and despair, reeled from the vision before him. To a father, the dark sails meant only the worst had befallen his beloved son. His heart wept for the son he believed lost forever, a sorrow that seemed set as deep as the night sky itself. The fateful decision, wrought from a heart punctured by grief, led Aegeus to take a step that would eternally change the course of his life and that of his beloved city. In silent resolution and unbearable anguish, Aegeus cast himself into the sea, the waters swallowing both king and sorrow into their depths, lending his name forever to the Aegean Sea. Meanwhile, on Theseus's ship, the significance of his father's instructions of the sails finally dawned upon him as the landscapes of Athens crept into view. The absence of Ariadne, his focus on the victories past, all paled in the face of forgetting his father's grave instruction. Theseus, filled with the freshness of achievement, had unwittingly set into motion a tragedy that would blanket Athens in mourning rather than celebration. The ship sailed into port amidst a gathering dark, greeted not by fanfare and rejoicing, but by the whispers of townsfolk and the somber news that met them at the docks. The air hung heavy with a melancholy that Theseus could almost taste, one that made the victory over the Minotaur feel dulled and distant. The true cost of his lapse had already unfurled before him, and with it a steely blanket of loss wrapped around his shoulders. In stunned silence, Theseus learned of his father's fate, all effects of his triumph unraveling into threads of remorse and responsibility. The tales of a hero's return were strangely absent from this moment of return. Instead, Theseus now gazed towards a future absent his father, a new chapter that demanded leadership, resolve, and grace, for Athens now awaited a new king. That fateful day carved a stark reminder into the heart of Theseus of the weight a hero must carry, the repercussions of what seemed like small oversights in the face of the grand and the heroic. As the twilight murmur of Athens settled, Theseus realized a new journey began, one where courage and justice must guide him more than ever before. In the pealing vault of the coming night, these reflections quietly etched themselves into the resolve of a son stepping into his father's shoes. As the city of Athens drifted into the calm of night, now only the soft rustling of the wind and the calming sound of the sea marked the passage of time. Theseus stood amidst the shadows, accepting the mantle of his father, a king's weight unlike any other trial. With the gravity of his new role, Theseus prepared for the dawn, for the challenges that required a hero's heart and the wisdom of his lineage. The veil of night enfolded the city, the sea song a lullaby to a land recovering from grief. And yet, beyond the silence, one could almost hear the echoes of Aegeus's hopes, now placed upon the shoulders of Theseus. In this profound quiet, Theseus knew that though a chapter had closed, the story of Athens had just begun anew. The legacy of Athens awaited as the city lay silent and waiting, a kingdom in nirvana, and a hero at its helm prepared to guide it toward promise and prosperity. In the aftermath of overwhelming loss, as Theseus stood at the helm of his ship, The city of Athens loomed ahead, like a beacon calling him home. The black sails still fluttered in the wind behind him, a somber emblem of the unintended tragedy that had transpired. Aegeus, assuming his son's demise, had taken his life, leaving the throne of Athens vacant for the young hero to fill. Despite the heartache, Theseus knew he had now to shoulder the responsibility his father once bore. Athens, a city of ancient heritage and burgeoning potential, awaited the guidance of a new leader, and the people looked to Theseus with hope and anticipation. As his ship anchored in the bustling port of Piraeus, the expectations weighed heavily upon him. Yet, resolute in spirit, Theseus stepped onto the mainland, ready to fulfill the destiny that was his to claim. With a city divided by political strife and economic disparity, Theseus faced daunting challenges as he ascended to the throne. The heritage of Athens, its culture rich yet torn by factions, needed a leader who could unite its people and restore harmony. Determined to bring justice and order, Theseus made his first decree from the splendor of his father's throne. The grand chamber, set against the backdrop of clear skies visible through its wide windows, offered a visual reminder of the ideals he aspired to: clarity, unity, and peace. In his early days as king, Theseus set about establishing a legacy of wisdom and just laws that would echo through the annals of Greek history. He recognized that for the city to thrive, its citizens must have a voice. With this understanding, he worked tirelessly to dismantle old tyrannies and restore a system of governance that was fair and equitable to all. Theseus wisely understood the power of collective wisdom and thus established a council of elders, a precursor to the democratic ideals that would later flourish in Athens. This council would ensure that no single voice overstepped, allowing the people to guide their future through shared governance. The symbol of the labyrinth, which had marked the trials of his early days, now served as a metaphor for his rule. Just as he had traversed its winding paths, guided by the golden thread of Ariadne, he sought to guide Athens through the complexities of its societal challenges. The people, inspired by his courage and determination, found in Theseus a leader who understood their plight and sought to elevate them with principles that reflected both mercy and strength. As word of his fair rule spread beyond Athens, Theseus's reputation grew, inspiring neighboring cities and realms. He became synonymous with what it meant to lead with both heart and mind, embodying the very essence of a hero king. His wisdom, as well as his bravery, became a guiding light, encouraging others to rise above pettiness and discord toward a future rooted in justice and solidarity. Memory of the original promise made to his father never strayed far from his thoughts. The white sails, a symbol of hope never to be unfurled, now served as a silent reminder of the responsibility he bore, not only to his fallen father but to the people who now called him king. The tragedy on the cliffs had forged a deeper understanding within him, a lesson that every decision made bore consequences far-reaching beyond immediate sight. Under Theseus's guidance, Athens emerged unified, a beacon of enlightenment and culture. His rule instilled in its people a profound sense of pride and belonging. He knew that his leadership was only as lasting as the values he embedded within the city's heart, ensuring that ideals of fairness and courage persevered long after he himself would be mere history. In ensuring the prosperity of Athens, Theseus traveled far throughout Greece, strengthening bonds with other city-states and fostering alliances that secured peace and prosperity. His leadership went beyond mere governance. It was a symbiosis of myth and reality, teaching that true heroism lay in wisdom as much as in deeds. The spirit of Theseus, as a young man who lifted a stone in Trojan, defeated foes on dusty paths, and navigated a labyrinth's dark corridors, transcended his birthright. Flesh and myth forged together as he walked the halls of Athens, now imbued with the stories of his explorations and victories. His legacy echoed across the pages of history, dedicating itself to Greek myth and serving as a foundation for generations to explore and interpret. The tangible impact of his rule and the timeless tales of his adventures intertwined, threading through the fabric of human imagination. As the sun set gently over Athens, casting golden rays upon the city streets and illuminating the path of wisdom that Theseus had carved, the atmosphere in the kingdom was one of reflection and fulfillment. Much like the calm sea upon which he had once sailed, Athens, under his guidance, had found its destined course, a city of wisdom, flourishing in justice and prosperity. Thus ended the tale of Theseus's journey, unwavering in courage, profound in justice, a hero of myth and a king of legacy, forever etched in the annals of Athens. His story, a guide for many to come, left a lingering peace and contentment in the hearts of those who still whispered of his adventures.